Yes, indeed you did. All right, cool. Hello there, and welcome to our virtual movie discussion. Today, we're going to talk about the 2000 film, Remember the Titans. I am one of your hosts today. I'm Karen Wisely. I teach history at the Northeast Campus, and I'm joined by my colleagues.
Hi, I'm Chloe Northrup, and I am at Connect Campus. I am department chair, like Dr. Wisely. I'm the Connect Campus, and I teach history as well.
Hi, I'm Samantha Elkins. I am not a department chair, but I do teach history on Northeast Campus. And I'm trying to fix my background because I understand this movie is not baseball. So I do know I am working on it.
All right. Our custom when we do one of these events is start with a little introduction, which is where I read the log line or brief description of the movie, and then go over some of the main cast members and where you may have seen them before. So, the log line for Remember the Titans. In 1971, high school football was everything to the people of Alexandria. But when the local school board was forced to integrate an all-black school with an all-white school, the very foundation of football's great tradition was put to the test. It stars Denzel Washington as Coach Herman Bone. It's Denzel Washington. So if you don't know him, then you need to start watching movies. He has been nominated for 9 Acting Academy Awards. First in 1988 for Cry Freedom, then in 1990 he won for Glory, in an actor in a supporting role. In 1993 he was nominated for Malcolm X. In 2000 he was nominated for The Hurricane. In 2002 he won for Training Day. In 2013 he was nominated for Flight. In 2017 he was nominated for Fences. In 2018 he was nominated for Roman J. Israel Esquire. And in 2002, he was nominated for The Tragedy of Macbeth. In short, he's amazing. And, he has done a lot of movies. Check out IMDb. Will Patton starred as Coach Bill Yost. You may recognize him for his most famous roles, but probably not. In 1997's The Postman. Anybody seen it? 1987's No Way Out. No one's seen that. 1998's Armageddon, or 2002's The Mothman Prophecy, which was an interesting movie. But if we're honest, the youth probably recognize him for his work in Paramount's Yellowstone. He was on that. Wood Harris as Julius Campbell. You may recognize him from the Creed movies, Creed 2, Creed 3. Or he is in the new Blade Runner 2049, the new Space Jam movie, and he was in the series called Empire. Ryan Hurst as Gary Bertier. You may know him from The Walking Dead, where he was on 20 episodes as Beta. He's been in a bunch of stuff other than that. Check him out on imdb.com. Donald Faison as Petey Jones. You know him from Scrubs. I know you do. And his on and off-screen bromance with Zach Braff, where they do, isn't it T-Mobile commercials now? Didn't they have? Yeah. So you know him. Yeah. Hayden Panettiere as Cheryl Yost. She was in 124 episodes of Nashville as Juliet Barnes. She was Claire Bennett for 73 episodes of Heroes. And she was married to that giant Ukrainian boxer, Vladimir Klitschko, right? Yeah. So she was known for a bunch of stuff. Nicole R.E. Parker as Carol Bone. She was amazing in this amazing Showtime series that probably none of you have ever heard of, called Soul Food, from 2000 to 2004. No one's heard of it? Well, it's a shame because it was really good. And more recently, she's been in the Sex and the City reboot and Just Like That. Kate Bosworth as Emma Hoyt. If you are like me, you know her from 2002's Blue Crush. Heck yeah. And 2004's Win a Date with Tad Hamilton. She also has 2 different colored eyes. One's blue, one's brown. It's weird. Once you know it, you can't not see it. I promise you, that's all you'll see when you look at her. And Ryan Gosling as Alan Bosley. Everybody knows who he is. He's Ken. He's Ken. And he was in La La Land. He was in Crazy Stupid Love. He's been in a million things. He's a delightful guest every time he's on Graham Norton's show. He's fantastic. We love that guy. Remember the Titans was directed by Boaz Yakin and released in the United States on September 29, 2000. It grossed over $100 million worldwide. The running time was 1 hour and 53 minutes. Is that short enough for you guys? Okay. I know. I'm a bitter person who gets a lot of heat for how long the movies are, so
We just had a lot of long movies in a row for a while there.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I think that we have to start off by explaining that this is a fictionalized version of the desegregation of football in Virginia. It doesn't happen exactly the way that this show talks about, but the people involved were mostly the people involved. There was a coach, Herman Bone. There was a coach, what's that other guy's name? Something Yost. He did have a daughter who was really super involved in the game and all of that. Those basics are true, but the actual storyline of when it happened and how it happened wasn't quite. It was very fictionalized. They took a lot of artistic license with that, but I don't know. Overall, this is a great movie and I love it. So I'm willing to overlook those small problems with it.
So I saw this movie when it came out and I was in high school, and I don't think I'd seen it since. And so I was kind of like, oh, I remember this movie. And then I mean, obviously it's become kind of a cultural phenomenon in certain ways. Like people have recreated that dance that they do and things like that. So it's like it's had a staying power. And some of the movies that we've seen that are now almost 25 years old are so dated. And when you watch, there's like I actually was surprised how much for me this movie held up and how much I loved revisiting it. And I am someone who does love, I reread books. I know there's some people who, after they've done something once, they never want to do it again. I'm not that person. I like rewatching movies. I like rereading books, especially if there's been some time in between it. Because I think we've talked about that, experiencing things at different times, how it has a different effect on you. So for me personally, I am now 2 for 2 in crying during sports movies for this year. Yeah, getting a little choked up in these. And I don't remember experiencing that when I was younger. So that was kind of a new thing for me. But I also don't remember getting choked up in A League of Their Own when I was younger. And yet here I am now. So then I kind of wondered, am I going to get choked up in every sports movie? Is this like the stage of life I'm in now?
It's possible. It's very possible.
For this year. So
I would like to say welcome to that stage of life.
And yeah, thank you. It wasn't
make sure you have
really,
Kleenexes.
Prepared for, and kind of shocking for me. But no, I was actually very surprised and delighted that that it had this kind of staying power and that it was doing so well. For me, it's such a great movie to watch again.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I'm going to say something controversial in the state of Texas. I don't really enjoy football, but I enjoy this movie.
All right, we'll let you stay.
In my office. I know that's controversial, and I just find it slow paced at times, which is ironic because I know they're all running at each other. But it's one of those things that this movie, it's funny because I would say there's definitely a theme of sports movies are not necessarily about sports sometimes. And this movie, what it does so well for me is it's not actually about the football, it's about the community and that like coming together and overcoming not like just adversity, but like personal issues with race. And it was interesting because one of the tropes I absolutely detest in a lot of race movies is the white man, the white savior trope. And I wanted to ask you guys about that in this movie. Do you feel like this movie fell into that trap or actually escaped it? Because weirdly enough, I felt like it kind of escaped it, except for the whole Coach Yost and I'll take it to the papers. I'm like, you should have taken it to the papers anyway. That part. But everything else, I felt like it did a good job of not just being about white people coming in and saving the day, but also showing how like there's a reason that African Americans should be angry and frustrated and understanding their perspective and how they are fighting to be accepted. I don't know. Like, I was curious to hear what your opinions were on that.
I think I didn't really see it as the white man savior kind of movie, and I think that part of the reason is because we don't know if Yost is going to be a good guy or a bad guy at the beginning of it, really. And you know, he tries, I think he was trying to like portray himself as, oh, I'll make it okay with you, but I need, you know, I need you to stay on your side and all of this, and you know, so I wasn't sure that I was going to like him at all. And you know, frankly, I liked his daughter a lot more. Like she was you know, she was just like, hey, I want to win and I don't care about any of these politics and stuff. And I was like,
Yes.
yes.
That's what I kind of wondered. Would they have had someone who's going to be a villain with such a precocious and great daughter from the beginning? Because I was like, you can't have someone that like badass as a daughter and then be like a bad person, especially as a single dad. It just it doesn't work for me. So I was like, he has to be good because she's just great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I still didn't like some of the smarm, you know, like some of the politics that he was playing and all of that. I wasn't a super big fan of that. But, you know, in the end, it ended up okay. And I didn't see him as a white savior because of that, because he wasn't like, I don't want to say pure, but he wasn't like, oh, we gotta, you know, we gotta come together because this or whatever. He was just like, you know, he'd been challenged by Herman Bone, and so that's it. It seemed like he answered the challenge. It wasn't that he was doing what was right, you know.
And also, I feel like it made him a believable person because I feel like the way he reacted was some like he didn't seem like this kind of like character that maybe wouldn't have existed. He seemed like someone who to me had like growth, kind of like so many of the characters did have this like arc of growth, and I felt like he did too, and it was in a believable way. Because I think a lot of people, you know, if you get demoted, you might just kind of leave right away and things like that. Because I feel like, you know, it did, at least at the beginning, the way that it was portrayed, you kind of almost felt kind of bad for him, right? That he was the head coach and then, you know, feeling like he got demoted and then all these people wanting to like rally up and make it into something. So I think it kind of at least made him have this journey that he had and that he was having to confront his own issues, which you never really saw him ever do that in like a really powerful way. But, you know, I think it made him at least a believable character for me.
Well, and I really liked the scene that he gets angry at, I'm sorry, it's Denzel Washington. The whole time I'm just like, that's Denzel Washington. That he gets mad at Denzel, and it's really about that his daughter was in the house when the brick went through the window. And I love the very end of it because even if you were like, oh, he has a right to be upset, or maybe like Denzel doesn't have to be quite as controversial. Like Denzel points out, he's like, now you know what my daughters go through every day. And it makes it very clear, like, no, this is not about you and how you're feeling. This is about like, this is a problem. Yeah. And no one should have to go through that. And I really, really appreciated that moment a lot more this time than before. I don't know. Like, I didn't even really remember that scene from before, if I'm being honest. And this time I was like, yeah, that's right.
I don't know. Also, if I can kind of chime in for a second, I was going to say, the part when you're talking about the white savior, really thinking about that one scene where they're sitting in the office, and it was shortly after the victory where Yost actually brought Petey back in. I love that part where he was saying, oh, no thanks required, coach. And yet he comes in and chimes in, he says, thanks. And he starts to correct him and saying, no, it's like, you're not helping these kids every time I come down hard on them. So it kind of puts that white savior in check. You see him try to do it for a moment, and then he's saying, oh, that's not the approach that we need to be taking.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, if you guys didn't remember that scene, what is the most memorable scene in this movie? What scenes are the most memorable to you?
Okay.
I remember the singing a lot. That's like, I like remember that they were singing, but I also remembered like just like the high school kind of dynamics. And I remember when I was in high school, and this is set at this time, like 30 years before, to me, that's like ancient history. and so, I mean, it was like, that's so long ago. And now the movie is almost as old as the time it was portraying at the time. And I'm like, ooh, like that's like kind of, because I just experienced my 20th high school reunion this year. And so like, you know, it's like, wasn't as far back as I thought it was back then. And I think that that's something like for me when I'm watching it now, I feel kind of rather like shocked, but also like confronting how our students are looking back at things in history as well. And I think that it's kind of, it caused me to have a reckoning. But I remember like, I do remember the music in it, and I remember too the character who ends up getting paralyzed. I mean, I can't remember his name, but I remember like the friendships that were forged in the movie as well. And I mean, like to me, it was like a high school movie. It was a movie about navigating all of that, and that's kind of how I viewed it at the time. And now I'm watching it, like seeing the parents. So again, I hear you, Samantha. It's a very odd situation that like to see now, but yeah, I enjoyed both of those things. But I do remember like the relationships that are being formed, and that was what was like stood out to me, I think, back then. Obviously the friendships.
Yeah.
Weirdly
yeah,
enough,
I think that was also what, you know, I mean, the scene that always pops into my head is the your mama jokes. You know, like that one was hilarious. It's hilarious, and it's always like something that plays in the back of my mind. But it's the friendships that develop between all of these kids, and choosing your teammate over people who, you know, like that little racist kid, you know, that they kicked off the team, and he's like, fine, you know, and that kid, what's his name? Hang on, I have their names here. Jerry, right? Gary. Yes. He's the one that had to make that decision, and he chose Julius. He chose his teammate, and instead of that, which I think was it's powerful, and it also shows, you know, like team sports are great, guys. Team sports are great. I was listening to a podcast last night about a soccer player, a professional women's soccer player who, you know, like when she was young, she had to choose between soccer and tennis, and she chose soccer because it's a team sport, and whenever you're playing an individual sport, you know, you don't get support from other people, but you also don't get anybody to like calm you down when things start getting rough. And she said that she was absolutely bananas whenever she would just go crazy whenever things started going badly. And in soccer, there's all the other people who can support you. And I think that that this shows team sports at its finest. I mean, you know, from the kid that got paralyzed to, you know, helping, as Tony Rangel said in the chat, Louis having, you know, not being able to pass his classes, and you know, they're helping him with that, and allowing him to believe that he can go to college, and just, you know, that's team sports to me is so important, and you know, it was important to me growing up. I don't know, you guys play any team sports? You guys seem
No,
yes, it's just me and Adam.
No, I'm with you, Karen. I'm with you that, like,
Yep.
This movie is the team. Like, it felt the, like, coming together, overcoming, like, those other people who want us to break us apart. But no, we're going to stand together and we're going to win because we, like they were saying, like, we're perfection as a team. Like, I was like, it was all the, like, kind of cheesy, but I loved it because I was like, no, those are, like, my best friends growing up were all my dance friends who were in my dance class together, who we went on the stage together. And if one of us messed up, we knew it messed up everybody's performance. Like, it was all or nothing with the people together. And I that part really did stick out to me this time. I found myself getting a little choked up, like, with the one guy who was like, oh, I'm not going to college. And when it was like, no, we're going to get you there. And then he's like, I'm going to go to college. Like, that hit me way harder this time than I had no, like, really recollection, like, oh, wow, he's going to college back then. And now I'm like, oh, no, that is so big. That's awesome. I'm so happy about that. I did want to ask you guys if the Denzel Washington speech at Gettysburg, I just felt like this time around it was, like, super cheesy. I don't know. I was like watching it going, this feels like Disney cheese at its finest. Like, and that was the scene that I always remembered. Like, I had that image of him standing by the tree. Mm-hmm. Like, you know how you have those memories from a childhood and you're like, I know this image. That image has been there in my mind. And so maybe I built up that scene, but watching it this time, I was just like, cheesy, cheesy, cheesy. Like, I don't know. What about that scene? What did you guys, because neither of you guys brought up that scene. So I was curious because the internet loves that scene.
Well, the internet loves cheese.
And also, I mean, Denzel fought in the Civil War already. I mean, he's already fought.
But not at Gettysburg.
No, but not still, like, he knows what it was like, okay? We saw him in glory. He lived through it, and it was rough, okay? So, I mean, like, he's like, I've already fought this. We cannot do this again, you know?
We're getting really meta there.
I love
that. That's, yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I think that I didn't mention it because to me it's not memorable because I mean, look. There are analogies you can make. I'm just saying there are analogies as a football coach that you can make. But Gettysburg is not one that I'm real comfortable with. You know, I mean, it's not, I mean, leave D-Day alone, leave Gettysburg alone. You're not fighting a war. You are not going to die if you lose this game. Just calm down. It's, you know.
So you wouldn't be fine watching a movie with a French soccer team marching or, you know, taking a hike through the woods up to Normandy and, you know, giving a fantastic speech. We need to defeat Germany.
I mean, I'd be real shocked if that movie existed.
Maybe they just don't take their sports as seriously in Europe, okay? Like, we are very serious about high school football. I think maybe coming from Texas, like, I see that speech and I'm like, that is nothing. Like, I mean, like, that's just the baseline of how serious we treat high school sports here in the South. So yeah, I think, like, for the maybe, okay, was it a much? Yeah, but did I still like it? I mean, like when the fog clears and there's the cemetery, I was like, oh dang, I forgot the scene. This isn't hard. Yeah. But you know, I
forgot about Gettysburg?
Yes, to be honest, I didn't like super remember that scene, but when I saw it, I didn't hate it like you guys did. I was actually like, I was kind of moved by it, to be honest.
Well, and that's what's funny is the first time I watched this film, like from like last time, I was waiting for that scene because I was like, oh, that's the scene, like the scene. Like I had it in all capital letters. And so I was kind of just surprised when I was like, ooh, this feels cheesy and weird, and I feel slightly uncomfortable. Because like Karen said, they're not going to die.
They aren't going to die if they lose that game. They aren't.
But I do think it does show something about that how seriously the South does take our sports. Also, was anyone kind of uncomfortable with some of his training techniques and they felt borderline
abusive?
Considering the real coach actually was fired for the allegation of abusing some of the players?
Yeah, I did notice that this time too. And I think we've had a reckoning with hazing and things like that. And also like high school football players, you know, being seriously injured, dying, things like that. And so I think in this last 20 years, it's definitely a different time when it comes to that. Like nowadays, coaches would be very much frowned upon for some of the tactics that they were using.
Yeah.
And I thought that definitely dated it one in the 70s, but also in the 2000s that it romanticized it. I mean, it was showing that this was what a good coach does, is pushing you to your absolute limit. And I kind of wondered, like, it would definitely be different. If this movie was made now, he would be, I think, a little bit kinder and gentler and he would be teaching them in other ways of how to become men or something.
Well, that's why I wanted to ask our students. Is there any students in here that like this is the first time watching it? Like, were you surprised by that? Like, did you feel like this movie was aged or like ooh? Because like watching it back in the day, I was all like, yeah, that's right. That's what you do. And now I'm like, ooh.
Because that was what you did. But now we know better now. And hopefully we're doing better, but yeah, it isn't borderline abuse, it's absolute abuse. Like, you know, making them run without water. I mean, that's, you know, and it is abusive, but that is absolutely what football coaches did back then. And even to the, you know, like when this movie was made in 2000, they were still doing that stuff. It wasn't until later that
because I remember, especially when I was in high school and in college, there was a lot of on the news, oh, a football player in Texas has died of heat stroke and that kind of stuff like happened a lot. Like you'd hear about it. I mean, every football season there was 2 or 3.
Yeah, because they had 2-a-day practices, and they did it in college, they did it in professional levels, and now in professional levels they can't do 2 days. And I don't know that they can do them in high school and so forth, where you would go in the morning and you would practice, and then you would go home, and then you would come back that evening and practice again, and there's no recovery time. They're fully padded practices, so you're hitting each other all the time, and you know the concussions that these guys are probably dealing with. It's terrifying that is how we did things back then, but it was, and the result was you would get these people who played football who can't walk upstairs, and they can't you know, very early they get the effects of the repeat concussions, and so it's shocking, and it does kind of make you feel happy that we figured some stuff out and made some changes.
Well, I was going to note that there's some people in the chat and they're all saying that like it was their first time watching it, and they were kind of like, yeah, that was really surprising to see. First time watching as well. And my friends that play football say it's nothing like that today.
Yeah,
that they would be fired.
They would be fired. They absolutely would be, because it's endangering people.
Fired in real life eventually.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody watched the game last night, but Tua got a concussion, and now there's all kinds of talk in sports talk shows and everything about should that guy retire, because he's had in the last 3 years he's had like 4, and it was a bad one. It was like immediately you knew that happened, and so now people are like, ooh, maybe this guy should retire, or he's, every concussion you get after the first one is a little bit worse than the last one, because the effects add up, and that guy's had some bad ones, some really bad ones. So and the thing is, 50 years ago, no one would be talking about, oh, he should retire. They'd be like, what did you leave the game for? He can still stand, and so it's things have gotten better, but we still have a ways to go. His first week in football, yikes. Yeah, you got to protect that head. That's
I feel like as college instructors, we especially are like, you please protect your head and your brain.
Protect your brain. I mean, you need that. You need that for sure. Yeah, the week before, week 1 games in the NFL, they were talking about somebody wore one of those extra protector things on top of their helmet, and they're like, how do we feel about this? And I'm like, I feel that good, somebody's protecting their brain. I mean, what a ridiculous question. How do we feel about it? Don't get a concussion. That's how we feel about it.
I did have another random question for you guys, because I was curious, because I like went really deep into like what was historically accurate or not. And a lot of it, like, we don't need to talk about. But I was curious because apparently in reality, instead of a brick being thrown through his window, they threw an actual toilet commode through his window. And Disney just was like, we're not going to do that. We're going to make it a brick.
I think good choice, first of all. Second of all, I don't know if you've ever picked up a toilet.
I'm like, how do you throw that through a window? Like, that's not like just like I
No.
It's all those two-a-days that they were doing.
It's not something you drive by where you can do it from the road either. You gotta like walk it up the steps and then throw it. Not that I've given a lot of thought to it, but
well, I mean, just lugging a toilet, it's like you walk awkwardly, and commodes are not like, oh, it's a box that's heavy, but I have handles or whatever. Like, it's an awkward thing.
Yeah.
And so the fact that someone threw it through his window, I don't know, like, I was kind of disappointed they didn't do that a little bit, just because it was so, the idea that like that's what actually happened felt so ridiculous. It kind of put, weirdly enough, a levity to the situation, even though that's way more serious than a brick. But I also think like it wouldn't have enough momentum to hurt.
That's what I'm gonna say. It isn't maybe necessarily more dangerous than a brick. It's louder, I think. A much bigger crash.
I assume it's gonna shatter when it hits the ground, right?
Yeah, but it isn't going to go as deep. So unless you're sitting right by the window, there isn't the danger, really, I would think. But I don't know. I don't. How do you not catch the person that has just lugged the toilet up to your window?
Awesome.
Adam,
I was going to say, here's another question. Remember the part where he's in front with the police officers and he's got the brick saying, whoever threw this brick from my window, you could find me, I'll be at home. Was he holding a toilet then? Like whenever he was making that speech in real life, like holding the toilet, whoever threw this toilet, come find me.
Probably not, but
I wonder if they even had a press conference, because there were so many things that were fictionalized for this that made it a better movie, but not like reality, if that makes sense. So like, because watching the movie, I'm like, oh, this is a good movie. And then it was like, oh, well, that didn't happen. Oh, that didn't happen. That didn't happen.
We're not gonna let a little something like The Truth ruin a movie for us. Gosh.
Yes, because I also looked up that Berthier's accident did not happen until actually after after the state championship game, but that he did become an advocate in the Paralympics and stuff. So that was cool, especially because the Paralympics just ended. So for many of us, we have been seeing that on TV and the news. So that was interesting to think about someone who has a life-altering injury and going on and doing something really, and that it said that he was his coach still. That was interesting. I don't know if that was true or not.
Well, and they, I think I saw an interview that like his sister gave that he all through his like childhood was like, I want to get a gold medal. And then he went to get a gold medal in the Paralympics and everything. Like he was part of a few different teams and stuff like that. And it was like, oh, that's really cool. Like that didn't deter him. It felt even more like, yeah, that's right. We got this. Like, I kind of wish some of that had almost been in there, but
Yeah, no,
it makes for a better story if he gets paralyzed before the big game.
Right, because it definitely made a very emotional story right there too. I mean, it really added to people coming together and the way that his mom was treated at the game and everything. It made it very emotional and beautiful. Yes, and also he had a good arc as well. I feel he had a great story. I enjoyed that, and I think that his also seemed believable as well.
His arc, I think, was the best movie like viewing experience I've ever had for a white ally to the African American community.
Interesting.
Because we got to see him be kind of racist. Because they couldn't do like overt racism at the beginning. It's Disney. But like kind of racist to like he really did become best friends with this guy, and like you saw them grow together as friends and everything, and how he had to overcome the different relationships. And then like I think it was Karen earlier that pointed out the whole like kicking off his friend from the team. Like it was that choice and not making someone else do it, not making holding other white people accountable for racist actions.
And not giving his girlfriend a pass, kind of just saying like, hey, like, this is it. Yeah. And I know I enjoyed that. I enjoyed his growth a lot. And it kind of made me wonder, I feel like Disney doesn't make movies like this anymore. Did anyone else feel that way? Like, I feel like a lot of the movies that they make are not, or maybe it's just go straight to Disney Plus or something, or maybe I'm just only watching like toddler Disney movies right now or something.
I'm only watching like Bluey right now. So
I'm wondering, do they still, because this was like, as I'm watching, I was like, this is a good movie. Do they make good movies still like this? I don't know. Or is it just like Marvel movies or something?
They just make
no offense to those who like Marvel movies.
Make a lot of Marvel movies, and then like Netflix and Prime make some kind of movies like this, kind of. The
mid-level ones don't go to theaters anymore. Like the only ones that go to theaters are supposed to be the big box office hits because they don't want to spend the money for the theater stuff. So I'm sure there's some good ones like just straight streaming.
Yeah,
but that's kind of what I thought. Students too. Like I ask them, like, when a movie comes out, like why, especially with something that's taken that amount of artistic license, what is it about that particular time period that they felt like this is going to be something that not only makes money, but what does it say about that society at the time? Because you're right, we don't see these kind of movies anymore. So what is it about the year 2000 that they felt compelled to make this kind of movie? I'm curious.
What was happening in the year 2000?
If it was 2001, I'd be like, oh, we could hook this to 9/11, especially with this last week that's been there. But I'm like, crud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a lot of you know, your Bosnias and your Herzegovinas and a lot of ethnic violence in Europe and in other places during this period of time, you know, that we were sending soldiers over to, right? Is that in the 90s, right?
Well, and I think they bought the rights for this film like earlier in the 90s. It just didn't get made until 2000. So it might be actually like you have to look a little bit earlier to get to how they got to making this, but I'm not sure if I remember that correctly 100%. Because I know that there were people that were interviewed that were on the team that won that were kind of like, why are you going to make a movie about this?
So are we talking about like the first Gulf War?
Oh, it might be the first Gulf War. I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to look for it. Give me a second,
But also, like, I think this movie, it had been enough time between these things. And like, I think we're talking about like how you need some distance sometimes in order to have perspective. And maybe because it had just been enough time between those events that people felt more comfortable looking back on it with almost a, you know, like, oh, we've come so far from whatever we see here. And I think that that's in you know, like almost in a way like we can't forget though. And but to me it's just wild that it was actually so very close to those moments of the movie still. And yet at the time, you know, it just feels very like it was like, oh, it's a historic, it's from the 70s, like, oh my goodness. So I was interested in that part too. Like, was it like that it was just the right time for something like that too, that it had been enough time between that people felt comfortable with looking back on it like as a historic event rather than something that was still happening?
I think so because you get into the 90s, which I'm core millennial, and a big part of the 90s was like racism isn't a problem anymore. That's something they dealt with then. We're better now. And so there is a little bit of that like definitely pulling our heads, you know, like under the covers and pretending like it's not still there, but also like feeling good about how far we've come.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know about football. I'm trying to think about 2000 and football too. Because I mean, I know it's hard to think about the 2000s in terms of football. And I mean, I know you're not thinking about it at all, Samantha. But in the 2000s, there weren't very many black quarterbacks. There was a lot of talk about there weren't enough black head coaches or any coaches or anybody going in, and they were starting to talk about the Rooney Law, which is trying to get black coaches in the NFL. 20, yeah, it was right around that time where they started the Rooney Rule, where it said you have to, if you have a vacancy in the head coaching, you have to at least interview someone who is black to fill that vacancy. And that's to, you know, get people on people's radar to, you know, become coaches. So maybe some of that was in play. John, do you think that some of the main factor of all the crazy stuff we were talking about is the fact that it was Texas football, or the time that it was set in? I think it wasn't. It was Virginia. Yeah, thanks, Tony. And I know that we all just see, you said something controversial, Samantha, and now I'm going to say something extremely controversial, and that is that Texas didn't invent football. Texas is not the only state that loves football, and Texas is not the only state that has Friday Night Lights. So,
Okay, yeah, I mean maybe, but I mean, like, is that like super true or just like okay?
All right, don't make me come over there.
This is being recorded, Karen. Just saying. This might go
But
viral.
also, just as a side note, there were a lot of high school football movies that came out in the 2000s. Think about like Varsity Blues and a lot of those other ones. Because in my mind, I kind of remembered some of those things too from those movies. So maybe also that was just kind of a trope for.
There were a lot of sports movies, period, that came out during this period. The late 90s, early 2000s is gold for sports movies, and a lot of it is the team sport atmosphere too. And I think that there was a lot of, I don't want to say like nostalgia. Maybe you know that some of the boomers were feeling nostalgia for playing their high school sports or whatever, and we're looking to capitalize on that. It's possible for that too.
I just looked up Varsity Blues was 99. So I mean, like there were like the high school football movies.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't forget that one, was it Friday Night Lights? I think that was in like 2003, maybe. That was a big Texas football movie.
Might have come out.
I just looked 2004. So yeah, I think
that was a book before it was a movie, before it was a series, right?
If you just Google the best football, like high school football movies, a lot of them are coming out at this time. So yeah, I think that this is kind of a golden time. And I think you might be right about that, just being people getting kind of nostalgic for that. Yeah, that experience that they had.
And I think you're right about, because we even go back to what we said earlier, that this is kind of the height of like people loving football, because today we've seen definitely a decline. As much as I know people still love football, we've definitely seen a decline, partly because of all the injuries and everything. And you start getting a lot more of that evidence once you get into closer to 2005, 2008. Like you're getting to see that more, especially 2010s. Always feels weird to say that. The tens. It's not like the 20s.
You remember that movie with what's his name, Will Smith, and he's a doctor, and they talk about the football people
concussion
and the concussion. Yeah,
concussion.
Maybe that's when it started. People started kind of falling off of the football train. Not so much, you know what I mean? Like what you were saying, Samantha, that it was big until it started on the downside. Does that make sense? What I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that was 2015. And and that in combination with, I think there were some big deaths right then too, of like Junior Seau. I know I'm saying names and you're like, and trust me, Adam, back me up here. Junior Seau took his own life after retiring from football because he was suffering from CTE, right? Do you remember that?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So there were a number of very high profile that people were like, oh, CTE is real. And then you get that film a couple of years later. Yeah, he died in 2012, taking his life. But there were a bunch of other, from the 1970s and 80s that and you started to see a decline in that for sure. But yeah, a lot of it is nostalgia, and I'm looking at these late 1990s sports movies. There's Rudy, Necessary Roughness, League Their Own, Mighty Ducks, The Little Giants, The Sandlot. All of these are very nostalgic, very, it's the team aspect, it's the nostalgia.
And a lot of James Earl Jones in these. Can we just take a moment?
Oh, are we pouring one out for James Earl Jones?
Yes. I mean, Field of Dreams and Sandlot. Like, he has such a good monologue baseball voice. And I feel like if we're talking about nostalgic sports, movies, we need to mention that this week we saw the passing of the great James Earl Jones. So, yes.
I also think that a lot of this is definitely indicative of what's taking place in our, I know football definitely in many sports, it's a small town. I think about whenever I was in high school, the city that I lived in, it still had that small town feel. And it was amazing to think about how many members of the community would just go watch, even if they did not have children. But we don't see that as much today. And when you keep using the word nostalgia, I think about that in the late 90s, early 2000s. That was probably people generationally still holding on to those days, decades before, which is why we see all these coming about. And, really just pushing that, hey, that team atmosphere, that's what was important. Now the idea of team, I think, disappears a little bit because I think, everybody's an individual now. We see that even with our athletes that are, in NFL and so forth. And thanks to social media.
Well, and I was going to say, because that especially fits with, didn't Dak just get he's making a huge percentage of the Dallas Cowboys?
Yeah.
I was listening to the news this week and I had to listen about football. But it was all about how Dak was getting paid $60 million out of a budget of $340 million for the Dallas Cowboys or something.
Yeah, that's a significant amount for one guy.
And so it's that individual
on a team that you need, 40 some guys. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot, and yeah, we have lost a lot. I mean, it did used to be, and I mean, some of it's been priced out of it, because if you've ever tried to go to an NFL game here recently, it is you got to take out a small loan. It isn't something that the regular guy can just do. Season tickets are wildly overpriced, so it isn't something that the regular guy can just afford. And we
see that in almost all sports today, because I remember growing up going to $5 Ranger game.
Yeah.
Which was, hey, why not kind of thing. Yeah. That is not possible anymore.
No, it isn't. And so there is this nostalgia for time. And it's also we've been talking about a little bit over the past several years about a lack of common culture, of nobody watches TV anymore, so nobody has the same references anymore, because there's 50 different streaming things. I watch this, you guys, I'm spinning gold with Ted Lasso quotes, and you guys are like, oh, I don't have Apple Plus, and so it's we don't have these common experiences that connect us as a culture anymore. And some of it used to be baseball, football, and so forth, and not even that unites us as much as it used to. So it's very nostalgic to think back at the time of, I mean, I wasn't alive, obviously, but in World War II, how they told, they could tell you were an American and not German by asking you who won the World Series. And it's half of the country doesn't know anymore.
I would like to point out that Cowboys fans are still very nostalgic. They are still very much ingrained in their culture. That's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah, they're still trying to relive those glory days.
I remember the glory days, okay?
Yeah, that's because we don't have anything else to have. So just let us have the 90s, please.
That's right.
You can have them.
I'm with John on here. I'm Texas Rangers won the world championship.
Yeah. Usually in my classes, I ask my class. I was like, let me see if you guys are German spies and I have to shoot you. Who won the World Series? And for years they don't know, but this year they get it right. So. So then I'm like, who won the year before? And then they're like, and I'm like, yep, you're a spy.
Notice everybody got quiet in the chat because nobody knows it and we don't want to get shot.
Yeah. Yes. So my watching this movie, I'm excited about having sport. Honestly, to be honest, when you first said sports movie, I was like, oh, okay, like that'll be fine. And so, I've seen a lot of them, but some of them not for a while. But honestly, so far, I have really enjoyed watching our sports movies so far in a way that I have even surprised myself. So, what is up next for us, Dr. Wisely?
What is up next? Well, in 2 weeks from today, on the 27th, we are going to discuss Chariots of Fire. Chariots of Fire is a movie about the 1920 or 1912 Olympics, and it's track and field. So we're hitting another sport, and
1924.
24. Okay. 1924 Olympics in Paris. Yeah, 100 years ago. That's right. Yeah. I should have thought about that. Yes. Nice. Yes, and you do have the flyer. Yeah, it is a great film. I cry at that one all the time, Chloe. So you might want to have some Kleenex handy whenever you're watching it. And
I just put in the chat. This is my grandmother's favorite movie. When I was little, she had 2 VHSs, and this is one of them.
I'm not.
Sound of Music was the other, so
Look, I'm not overly fond of being compared to your 87-year-old grandmother, but I get it. I do. Let me try to put up a.
But to bring up an inside joke, Karen, it's not Seabiscuit though. Karen always is bugging us all to watch Seabiscuit. So
look, Seabiscuit is a great movie, and yeah. Yes, Miracle is coming later this semester on November 22nd. We will be discussing Miracle because yes, we're hitting hockey as well. We got a basketball one called Glory Road. We got another baseball one called 8 Men Out, and we have a rugby movie, Invictus. These are the ones that are coming up. We were trying to hit all the sports that we could. And so, yeah, Field of Dreams, I wish. I just watched it the other night, though, when James Earl Jones died. I watched that movie. It is available on Netflix. If you have Netflix, you can watch Field of Dreams and, think about James Earl Jones. He has a couple of really great speeches in there that are, yeah. We're not doing Field of Dreams this time. We got to save some for later. And
if you look at the chat, you can see a list of all of our events this semester. One thing I'd like to remind you, tomorrow is Celebramos, which is at the Fort Worth Botanic Gardens, and it is free day at the Fort Worth Botanic Gardens from 10 to noon. And if you go there, you can click the link and see more about it. And there will be TC students and faculty there to greet in the Leonard Courtyard. What are you doing on the Northeast campus for Constitution Day next week, Dr. Wisely?
We are having a speaker, Meg Penrose from Texas A&M School of Law, on Tuesday from 11 to 12:30 in Center Corner. She will be talking about state constitutions as well as the federal constitution, that the United States is a country of 51 constitutions, not just one. It looks to be a great event. Can't wait to see people there. We will have pizza and pop, as I like to call it. So if you can make it, have some free food, and we always put candy on the table too. I mean, we're trying to buy your affection with candy, we're just straight up doing it.
And we will not have that on our Connect event because it is online. But I will be talking about Lafayette's the bicentennial of Lafayette's trip in 1824. And let me tell you, I am real excited about talking about this. I've been looking up some really weird objects that were created that I'm very excited about sharing as well. And so join us if you're not able to make it in person. Join us online. Go in person though, because you can always watch the online one later.
Yeah. Anything else happening? Oh, I'm having my eye fixed, so that's good. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. But anyway, yeah, I think that's all we got. I have posted in the chat the survey for attendance purposes. Make sure that you fill that out for us, so we can make sure that you get credit for attending this. Thank you for coming. And again, our next one, 2 weeks from today, and we will be discussing Chariots of Fire. That's a barn burner. I love that. I love that movie so much. I love it.
Just like Grandma Judy.
Thanks, Chloe.
Have a good day, everyone. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.